We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. US Senate fails again to pass funding bill. White House warns mass layoff. Trump says happy to work with Democrats on healthcare if shutdown ends. Macron's fifth PM quit hours after naming cabinet. Opposition demands president's resignation or snap polls. Macron gives Le Corner till Wednesday for talks. First day of indirect talks between Israel and Hamas over Trump's 20-point plan end in Egypt. Next round on Tuesday, marking 2 years since Hamas attack. Sixth edition of Global Fintech Fest to begin in Mumbai. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and UK PM Starmer to address on October 9th. And on to the details now. The US Senate has once again failed to pass a spending budget, making it the fifth such time that would continue to keep the government in a state of shutdown. Now, the both Democratic and Republican funding proposals failed to pass in the Senate on Monday, unable to reach the 60-vote threshold needed for approval. Also, a Republican bill gathered 52 affirmative votes and 42 nays. Previously, the Democratic-led bill had 45 affirmative votes and 50 negative. 3/5 of the Senate were needed to approve the motions put forth. US President Donald Trump said he would be open to making a deal on subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. Trump said he was happy to work with Democrats on healthcare policy, but the shutdown must end first.
We have a negotiation going on right now with the Democrats that could lead to very good things. And I'm talking about good things with regard to health care. Well, I don't want to say that. But we are speaking with the Democrats, and some very good things could happen with respect to health care. I'd like to see a deal made for great health care. Yeah, I want to see great health. I'm a Republican, but I want to see health care much more so than the Democrats.
Well, Trump had warned earlier that another stalemate could result in significant job losses. Now, the White House on Monday backed off Trump's assertion that U.S. government employees were being laid off right now due to the shutdown, but warned that job losses could result if Congress does not restore federal funding. And US President Donald Trump has formally authorized the deployment of 300 members of the Illinois National Guards to Chicago for 60 days. Now, according to the presidential memorandum released on Monday, the deployment of 300 members of the Illinois National Guards aims to protect the federal personnel and property in Illinois. In the memo, Trump said that the regular forces of the U.S. are not sufficient to ensure the laws are faithfully executed, including in Chicago. According to the order, the National Guard will be activated for 60 days unless extended or withdrawn earlier at the discretion of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. This is despite Illinois and Chicago filing a lawsuit aiming to stop Trump administration from sending hundreds of National Guard troops to Chicago. And Chicagoans are torn over the ongoing U.S. immigration and custom enforcement raids happening in and around Chicago, as well as President Trump's plans to deploy the National Guard. Now, Illinois launched a legal challenge on Monday to block Trump from deploying hundreds of federalized National Guard troops into the streets of Chicago. Chicago filed the lawsuit hours after a federal judge in Oregon on Sunday temporarily blocked Trump's administration from sending any National Guard troops to police Portland, Oregon. Chicago's lawsuit opens new tab as the fourth legal action targeting Trump's unprecedented use of soldiers to police U.S. cities, suppress protest, and bolster domestic immigration enforcement. Now, the courts have not yet reached a final decision in any of those cases, but judges in California and Oregon have made initial rulings that Trump has likely overstepped his authority. And French President Emmanuel Macron on Monday gave his outgoing Prime Minister time until Wednesday to hold last-ditch talks with other political parties to try to chart a path out of the crisis. Now, Sébastien Lecornu shockingly stepped down on Monday, just 14 hours after naming his government lineup. The resignation made him the third French PM to leave office since last December and fifth one in 2 years to announce resignation. It was not immediately clear what Lecornu's task would entail. France's constitution allows Macron to reappoint Lecornu as Prime Minister should he wish. Well, Macron gave Lecornu until Wednesday to hold meetings with political parties to try to chart a path out of the crisis. If Lecornu's bid to achieve stability by Wednesday fails, Macron has three options. He can appoint another prime minister, he can once again dissolve the National Assembly, or he can resign himself. And Lecornu's ministerial lineup had been fiercely criticized across the board by parties in the National Assembly, which threatened to vote it down. Now, the nomination of former Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire as Minister of the Armed Forces, in particular, seemed to be a sticking point for many political factions. For now, far-right and hard-left parties are urging Macron to call new parliamentary elections or quit. And now let's take a look at what may happen next. The deepening crisis will disrupt the 2026 budget process, raising the likelihood that emergency legislation will be needed to keep the government running. Under French law, the government has until October 7 to deliver a 2026 budget bill, although the Constitution allows some flexibility until mid-month. But with so little time to appoint a new Prime Minister and Cabinet, it is increasingly unlikely that Macron administration can deliver the bill on schedule. In that event, lawmakers would need to pass emergency stopgap legislation to authorize spending, taxation and borrowing from January 1st until a full budget is approved. Now, France resorted to such emergency measures last December after then Prime Minister Michel Barnier's government was ousted, invalidating his proposed 2025 budget. And delegations from Israel and Hamas held their first day of indirect negotiations in Egypt on Monday on a U.S.-drafted peace plan. Now, the discussions were set to resume on Tuesday afternoon. As per reports, both parties have agreed on most of the first phase terms, which include the release of hostages and establishing a ceasefire. The Israelis are led by top negotiator Ron Dermer, while Khalil al-Hayya leads the Hamas delegation. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said Foreign Policy Advisor Ofer Falk would be present for Israel. The talks began with a meeting between Arab mediators and the Hamas delegation. Also, U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner were also expected to join the talks. Both Hamas and Israel have responded positively to Trump's proposal, but reaching an agreement on the details is set to be a huge task. The plan envisages the disarmament of Hamas, which the terrorist group is unlikely to accept. Now, it also provides for the gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza, but Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to redeploy troops deep inside the territory while securing the release of hostages. U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters at the White House that he was pretty sure a peace deal was possible.
I have red lines. If certain things aren't met, we're not going to do it. But I think we're doing very well, and I think Hamas has been agreeing to things that are very important. I think we're going to have it soon. I think we're going to have a deal. It's a hard thing for me to say that when for years and years they've been trying to have a deal with Gaza. But, literally for centuries, okay, if you really think about it. But we're going to have a Gaza deal, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And October 7th marks the second anniversary of Hamas' deadly attacks on Israel, when around 1,200 people were killed and 250 were taken hostage. Well, that day, Hamas attacks sent a ripple effect throughout the world. It was the deadliest attack on the Jewish people in a single day since the Holocaust. It threw the world into chaos, and Israel's military response have changed the region's landscape. The repercussions have contributed to the ouster of a regime in Syria, attack in Qatar, and a setback to the nuclear program in Iran. The conflict has since caused a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. It also brought international attention and divided opinions on the nations choosing sides. At the same time, Jewish communities will hold low-profile commemorations of the October 7 attacks as anti-Semitic attacks continue to rise worldwide. Israel also launched October 7 website on massacre. The site, The Missing October 7th Files, presents original documents recovered by Israel's security forces since the start of the conflict. Now, Israelis on the streets hope for a deal to secure the release of hostages, as there are 48 hostages still remaining in Gaza, 20 of whom are alive.
It's like an open wound. The hostages, I really can't believe it's been almost 2 years. It's been 2 years that they are not at home. All of the country, it's like all of our heart is not complete until they are home. In everything that we are doing, they are all the time in our mind, and I really hope that this agreement will actually happen and will bring everybody home to their families.
I think there will be a huge sense of relief. For me, I certainly was someone who I cried every single hostage release that we've had until now, and I think that this will finally be an end to a very dark chapter in our country's history.
And moving on, amid rising tensions with the Venezuelan, U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday has called off efforts to reach a diplomatic agreement with Venezuela and told his special envoy Richard Grenell to stop all outreach. Now, earlier, Trump said U.S. forces hit another vessel allegedly carrying illegal drugs off the coast of Venezuela, adding that the U.S. would also start looking at drug trafficking occurring on land. Now, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has repeatedly alleged that the U.S. is hoping to drive him from power. Meanwhile, hundreds marched to the UN office on Monday in Caracas demanding respect for Venezuela's sovereignty and peace. Political and social groups organized the march, which featured banners rejecting foreign interference and supporting Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. In response, the U.S. assembled several warships in a naval buildup in international waters near Venezuela, allegedly to combat drug trafficking. And still to come in this edition of DT India Live. India's UN envoy calls women peacekeepers messengers of peace, highlights India's leadership on women, peace and security agenda. India's flagship marine safety drill held in Chennai, showcasing India's world-class oil spill preparedness. And honoring a legacy of discovery that unveils the universe, we'll tell you about the 2025 Nobel Prize in Physics.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, the 6th edition of the Global Fintech Fest is all set to begin in Mumbai on Tuesday. Based on the theme Empowering Finance for a Better World Powered by AI, the three-day event will bring together global leaders, policymakers, central bankers, and innovators to explore the future of financial technology amidst the growing AI influence. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the UK Minister Keir Starmer will deliver the keynote address and engage with industry experts, policymakers, and innovators on Thursday. The fest will also host a large-scale fintech expo with over 400 exhibitors alongside hackathons, investment pitches, fintech awards, and networking sessions. And India's permanent representative to the UN Ambassador Parvathineni Harish has described women peacekeepers as messengers of peace and outlined India's rich and pioneering contribution to the implementation of WPS agenda. While speaking at the UNSC Open Debate on Women, Peace and Security, the envoy asserted that the future of peacekeeping operations must acknowledge the crucial role of women peacekeepers in conflict resolution. He said that women play a critical role in addressing gender-based violence, being the messengers of peace.
India's leadership in championing women peacekeepers is exemplified through the appointment of Dr. Kiran Bedi, the first woman officer of the Indian Police Service, as the first ever female police advisor and head of the United Nations Police Division in 2003. We believe that it is no longer a question of whether women can do peacekeeping, rather, it is whether peacekeeping can do without women. Most critically, they help address gender-based violence and ensure that peace processes reflect the needs and perspectives of all segments of society.
And India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri interacted with a group of journalists from Bangladesh in New Delhi on Monday. The Indian Foreign Secretary highlighted the warm and historic India-Bangladesh ties. He emphasized that India has always approached the India-Bangladesh relationship in a positive and constructive manner with a people-centric orientation. And in a bit to prepare for tackling marine oil spill emergencies, India's premier biennial pollution response exercise, NatPol Rex X, was organized by the Indian Coast Guard on the 5th and 6th of October. The large-scale exercise witnessed enthusiastic participation from a wide spectrum of stakeholders, including 40 foreign observers from 32 countries, representatives from central ministries, coastal state governments, major ports, oil handling agencies, and maritime organizations. Now, the technical sessions of the exercise featured insightful presentation on topics of current relevance, including nodal spills and environmental impact, case studies on hazardous and noxious substances, post-spill monitoring and environmental impact assessments, shoreline cleanup, etc. And some global weather updates now. First up from India, the Indian Meteorological Department has forecasted continued rainfall with yellow alert across several parts of the country for the next 2 to 3 days. The Met Department also issued a yellow alert for Delhi following the overnight rainfall. The city is expected to experience a generally cloudy sky with several spells of rain to moderate rain at many places. It also said temperatures in northwest India may drop by 4 to 5 degrees Celsius over the next 2 days, starting on October 8th. As thunderstorms accompanied by rain are likely in Chhattisgarh, Bihar and Jharkhand over the next 2-3 days. Due to the impact of the western disturbance, rain has resumed again in Rajasthan. IMD said the rainfall will decrease in Jodhpur and Bikaner on October 7th. According to the Meteorological Department, heavy rain is likely at isolated places in Arunachal Pradesh on October 9th and 10th, while Assam, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura are likely to experience heavy rain for the next 5 days. And floods in Nepal have taken death toll to 52, with 9 missing and 29 injured. Nepali army has rescued 12 individuals stranded due to incessant rainfall, while the search for 4 missing from Gosai Kund municipality is ongoing in dam site. An indefinite ban has been imposed on nighttime vehicle movement along all the short route connecting Hitoda and Kathmandu. The short route remain at high risk of landslides. Despite the Bagmati province government's efforts to upgrade the short route, the landslide risk persists. Meanwhile, roads have been completely blocked at 19 locations across Koshi and Bagmati provinces, as in Koshi province. Several sections of the Koshi Highway, Siddhicharan Highway, Mid-Hill Highway and Mechi Highway have been obstructed by landslides. Well, in northern Egypt, flooding from rising Nile waters has submerged homes and farmland, forcing people to evacuate by boat. It has stirred escalated tensions between Cairo and Addis Ababa over claims that Ethiopia's massive Nile Dam may be contributing to the seasonal floods. In the northwest of Cairo, residents used boats to navigate flooded streets as water reached their homes. Health teams were deployed to flooded areas over the weekend. Egypt's irrigation ministry accused Ethiopia of irresponsibly managing its Nile Dam, alleging that unexpected water releases following the dam's September 9th inauguration led to the man-made delayed flood. Meanwhile, Ethiopia rejected Cairo's claims. It defends its newly inaugurated Nile Dam as a regional benefit. And now let's take a look at other stories making news across India today. Well, in Chhattisgarh, at least 3 workers, including 2 women, were injured after an explosion at an open cast coal mine of Southeastern Coalfields Limited. The incident took place at Chirmiri Open Cast Coal Mine when workers were preparing to carry out blasting, laying explosives on the coal bed at a site. As per preliminary information, after laying the explosives, the blasting gang comprising 7 to 8 workers were returning to a safer place for detonation when the explosion suddenly occurred at the site. Valmiki Jayanti is being celebrated today to honor the sage Valmiki, the author of the ancient Indian epic, the Ramayana. The day is commemorated with a lot of respect across India, as this day marks the birth of the sage, who is often regarded as the first poet or Adi Kavi in Sanskrit literature. Sage Valmiki's work not only highlights the epic story of Lord Rama, but also imparts lessons about life, duty and justice. An early spell of snowfall in Kashmir Valley's upper reaches, including tourist places, on Monday sparked a cheer among the tourists. Scores of tourists were seen enjoying at Gulmarg's meadow Kungduri in North Kashmir after the season's first snowfall. Kungduri was covered with a layer of snowfall in the past 24 hours. Authorities have instructed drivers to carry appropriate safety equipment, including snow skid chains. The Grand Divine Reunion at the International Kulu Dussehra Festival refers to the annual congregation of over 300 local deities who gather at the Dhalpur ground to pay homage to the chief presiding deity, Lord Raghunath. This unique celebration is unlike the Dussehra elsewhere in India, as it begins on Vijayadashmi and focuses on the assembly of gods rather than the burning of Ravan's effigy. The week-long celebrations are no less than a spectacle of divine culture. Well, the Nobel Prize in Physics is awarded by the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, Stockholm, Sweden. Physics was the prize area which Alfred Nobel mentioned first in his will from 1895. At the end of the 19th century, many people considered physics as the foremost of the sciences, and perhaps Nobel saw it this way as well. His own research was also closely tied to physics. Here's a report.
Every year, the world turns its eyes to Stockholm, where the greatest minds of science are honored for discoveries that redefine our understanding of the universe. The 2025 Nobel Prize in Physics has once again brought the frontier of human knowledge into the spotlight. This remarkable journey began with Alfred Nobel's will in 1895, in which he directed that his fortune be used to give the highest recognition to achievements in knowledge and discovery. The Physics Nobel Prize was one of the first categories mentioned in his testament, reflecting its foundational importance in science. The prize is awarded every year by the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. Since 1901, It has been presented 118 times to 227 laureates, with John Bardeen being the only individual to receive it twice. The award recognizes discoveries that have made the greatest contribution to humanity. The very first physics Nobel in 1901 was awarded to Wilhelm Röntgen for his discovery of X-rays. From Röntgen to Einstein, who was recognized in 1921 for the law of photoelectric effect, each laureate has brought humanity one step closer to understanding the universe. The uniqueness of physics lies in its power to connect the tiniest particles to the grandest galaxies. Physics is not merely a game of numbers. It is the language through which we decipher the cosmos. Each discovery deepens our understanding of the building blocks of matter, energy and space-time. Over the decades, the prize has celebrated both the invisible and the immense. Quantum mechanics, nuclear structure, the Big Bang, lasers, semiconductors, and even the elusive whispers of gravitational waves. These are not merely equations. They are discoveries that have reshaped science, transformed our lives, influenced our thinking, and inspired our dreams of tomorrow.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.